Man has always been fascinated with flying, and if you have ever dreamed of soaring through the air, then make sure your seat backs and your tray tables are in an upright position and fasten your seatbelt. I'm Donna Vesey, your adventurista, and get ready, because on this edition of Hitting the Road, we're about to take off on the runway to adventure.
I'm hitting the road again. Got adventure crawling under my skin, going places that I've never been. I'm hitting the road. I'm hitting the road again. Gonna take along all of my friends, living life like it's just no end. I'm hitting the road, feeling better since I don't know when. I'm hitting the road.
On this episode, we're going to explore the many approaches in aviation and begin by setting a course to the National World War II Aviation Museum in Colorado Springs, where we'll talk with two WASP. After that, we'll head off to Meadow Lake Airport to meet some fledgling pilots. We'll then take a peek into what could be the ultimate DIY project. We'll fly with an angel before taking a short trip up to Denver, where we'll show you that you can take flight without ever leaving terra firma. Lastly, we'll soar with the Hawks on the Eastern Plains. So come on, we've filed our flight plan and it's time to take off. With the advent of World War II, huge advances were made in aviation. Today, aviation museums all over the country are working tirelessly to preserve that history. We're here with Bill Clares, president of the National Museum of World War II Aviation in Colorado Springs.
The National Museum of World War II Aviation was officially opened in October of 2012. Well, the museum has a restoration facility, so really the museum's dedicated towards education. So when we get kids and families and people through here, we put them into a volunteer restoration program. And currently they built the N3N for educational or teaching purposes. The next project is the PT-19 will be put into flying condition. I mean, the education component is probably the biggest thing. You're going to find that education is going to be a whole lot better and a whole lot easier for kids to get entertained and excited about things that they don't even know about. You know, the advice to kids, it's not just about pilots, it's about aviation careers, and that's what we're trying to stimulate. The museum's program is really a program that's based around putting it in front of them. It's free, and so they can come out here. Not everybody's going to be meant to be a pilot. Maybe they want to be a mechanic or an air traffic controller or something along the aviation industry. So we have to get the teachers educated to where they bring them out, and then the kids are touched by it, and if they like it, then the program that we will be putting on in the National Aerospace Education Center will then allow the kids to advance to the next step of seeing if that's really what they want to do.
During World War II, it was proposed that a corps of women pilots be formed to free up the male pilots for combat service. So an extraordinary group of women signed up to become the first Women Air Force Service Pilots, also known as WASP. When did you know you first wanted to be a pilot?
I was 6 years old. Our neighbor had a relative in California who owned an airplane. They didn't have any flat land, and so they asked us if they could land in our pasture. And my dad said, sure. So finally I saw the airplane circling, and I ran as fast as I could go. And by the time I got there, they were unloading the luggage compartment. And the man who was piloting the aircraft said, little girl, don't touch that airplane. Well, of course, that did it. That's all it took for me to decide to be a pilot. Yes.
When did you join the service?
Oh, a long time after that. We all had to know how to fly, you know, before they'd even talk to us.
So you were a pilot before you joined the service?
Each one of us was.
So what kind of missions did you fly when you were in the service?
Well, after I graduated, I was in the last class, so I didn't have much time to do much of anything. I towed targets briefly for air-to-air gunnery.
What was it like being a female pilot back then?
I flew into Carlsbad, New Mexico one time. This young guy jumped up on the wing of my AT-6 and he took the gas cap off. Just at that time, I slid the canopy back on my AT-6 and fluffed up my hair, and he came unglued. He started screaming at me. He said, "What are you doing in there?" I said, "Well, I'm flying the airplane." He says, you shouldn't be flying that airplane. I should be flying the airplane. I'm the man. I said, honey, if you were, I'd have noticed.
Oh,
I never saw him again. He jumped off the airplane.
good for you.
Yeah,
That took care of that pesky problem.
It sure did.
I don't ever remember not wanting to learn to fly.
Catherine, how old are you?
98.8.
And when did you first join the service?
Oh, well, I started out with the Navy. We heard that the Navy wanted women with a private license to come down and experiment on the link trainer. And then the news of the WASP came through. So we talked to the Navy, and they said, if the Army asks for you, we'll let you go. And the Army said, if the Navy will let you go, we'll take you. We had some civilian instructors. Well, my instructor said, today we're going to do stick-back stalls. And where you bring the airplane up to the horizon, then you cut power, and then you're supposed to walk it down. So I did it, and I fell off into a spin, came back. He said, that isn't right, do it again. I did it again. I'm waiting for him to say what I did wrong, but do it again. So same thing. After the third time, I was so mad. So we went up there, and I just went like this. And the airplane went into a spin. And he turned around, and he got it straightened out at 500 feet. And you got a pink slip if you didn't do well. And I was fully waiting for a pink slip. He didn't say anything, and I didn't say anything, so I didn't get the pink slip. So
Sounds like he's the one that should have gotten the pink slip.
Yes.
Was there a lot of harassment back in that day?
Oh, yes.
Tell me
well,
about
like
that.
I say, we weren't welcomed at the field. The instructor said women belong in the kitchen, you know. And so, yeah, we had a lot of that. And then there's other people that were real nice. I mean, the majority of people were great, you know.
After the service, did you continue to fly?
No, I got married and had 5 children.
That was a pretty
Not
big
at
deal.
once.
Yeah. These women are an inspiration to all of us.
Hello, my name is Casey Springer. I'm 19 years old, and I got my pilot's license when I was 17.
My name is Bobby Pascal. I'm 16 years old, and I'm part of the advanced program of the Aviation Education Foundation of Colorado.
I wanted to be a pilot for sure when I was 16. My first ride was in a Pitts aerobatic biplane, and the pilot took me through his air show routine, and I love it to death.
I live pretty close to the Air Force Academy, so every time I see a plane fly over my house, you know, it's tough not to think, gee, wouldn't it be cool if I was up there?
AFCO is the Aviation Education Foundation of Colorado. There is a ground school, which is the book portion of the flying.
Ground training is very difficult. On top of school and athletics and student government, I had a lot going on, and then I had to add at least a half an hour a day of studying for this ground school.
You have to be at least 17 to get your pilot's license. However, you can start the ground school and take the written test at any time.
I finished my ground school and I passed the written portion of the FAA test. There are 2 more portions, a check ride and an oral portion that I'm gearing up towards in the advanced program right now.
These 2 young men are already filing their flight plans for the future.
I'm going to get my mechanical engineering degree, so that covers a broad basis.
I want to be a military pilot. I've always looked at the fighters, but if that doesn't happen, a C-130 would sure be cool.
What advice would you give other students?
The message I'd give to everyone, especially if you're going to go the route of flying, buckle down, put your head to the books, and just get it done. And you can do anything you want to do. It's character building, it's responsibility, it's maturity.
The most exciting part about flying is seeing the wheels come up off the ground. I think as humans, even going down the runway, you're thinking, this isn't going to fly, you know, we're not meant to fly, this isn't going to happen. And then when you see those wheels come off the ground, you have that moment of, wow, it's really happening, I'm really flying, and it's just amazing to know that you are capable of flight.
We all know one one of those people who love to get their hands dirty, people who are always building and tinkering. The Experimental Aircraft Association gives a whole new meaning to some assembly required. Jim Stewart, an experienced pilot and airplane builder, gives us a peek into the nuts and bolts of the ultimate do-it-yourself project.
Well, a normal aircraft is an aircraft that's built by a factory. So it's called a certificated airplane. It's gone through all kinds of testing by the FAA, and once they determine the aircraft's airworthy, they issue an airworthiness certificate. The Skybolt, our experimental aircraft, well, we built that in our garage. You know, it's built from a set of drawings that aren't totally complete.
This is certainly not the kind of project for those of us who get impatient waiting for our triple habanero espresso goat's milk latte order.
I bought the plans for the Steen Skybolt, well, now it would be over 40 years ago. It took me 30 years to build the airplane. Had it not been for my son Mark, why, it still would be, it would be under construction. But it's not built to any particular standard. But in the case of the Skybolt, the drawings showed you how to build the structure for the fuselage. Didn't show you how you were going to shape the fuselage. So there is a steel structure underneath this fabric. In the case of the Skybolt, there are no instructions to tell you how to shape the fuselage. So every Skybolt probably looks a little bit different. There are folks that have built a number of airplanes and they're pretty good at it, and they can probably build one in 12, 18 months. So it just depends, I guess, on the time you have to devote to it.
I get traumatized just thinking of constructing a souffle, but if it doesn't rise, I could just call it a mousse. Airplanes, on the other hand...
I was scared to death, honestly. Yeah, my heart was in my throat the whole time, but it flies good. It's a fun airplane.
Well, and I guess there must be a sense of satisfaction building with your bare hands and then taking off.
I can't describe it, but yeah, there's a certain amount of pride about the fact that we built our own airplane, we fly our own airplane. We won an award at Oshkosh with the airplane. So, yeah, there's a certain sense of satisfaction and pride that goes along with that.
You know, when I think about angels, I think about wings. But have you ever thought about wings as being attached to an airplane and the pilots who fly these planes as being the real angels? Stan Vanderwerf is one of those angels. So Stan, what is Angel Flight?
Angel Flight is a service organization that helps people with medical needs to fly them from their homes to facilities that can provide appropriate medical service. And the people that fly in Angel Flight are usually those that cannot afford to get there themselves.
So these are people not necessarily in remote places.
They're not necessarily people in remote places. They can be in cities, and they just need to go to a city that has a hospital with the right type of medical care, because they might have a rare disease or something, and you cannot get that service across the country. So you have to go to a specific place for that.
What compelled you to get involved with Angel Flight?
Oh, well, first of all, I have a passion for flying. I love to fly. And so I wanted to share that with other people, and I thought a little bit about how to do that. But also, you know, I spent 28 years in the Air Force. I served the nation. I'm proud of that service, and I wanted to continue to serve. So I looked for ways where I could do that. Well, I thought a great way would be to help people in need. So that's when I looked around for a nonprofit to provide that service, and Angel Flight was obvious. That was a great choice.
So you donate your time, you donate your fuel, your plane?
That's right. For Angel Flight, the patients are not charged in any way for the flight. The pilots pay for that, and Angel Flight does not provide funds either. So all of the expenses for flying, that's out of my pocket.
So that is absolutely amazing that you do this from the goodness of your heart. Are there many pilots who donate their time?
Oh, well, there are. There's over 1,000 pilots in Angel Flight that are doing this. Yes, absolutely.
How much time per year do you spend with Angel Flight?
I do probably about 10 actual missions a year. Something close to that, and every one of them is fun. You know, I get a lot back from the flying as well. I get to share my passion, but more than that, I just meet cool people.
I bet you get attached to these people, don't you?
I do, yeah. For example, this one individual, I fly him from Santa Fe to Denver because the medical service he needs for his condition is not available in Santa Fe, but it is available in Denver. So now I've gotten to know him, and you know, he's a wonderful gentleman. So he has a serious medical condition. It's life-threatening. And so I get to know him, and I begin to learn more about him, and it's more than just kind of a friendship, really. And you know what he does every time I'm done with a flight?
What's that?
That guy gives me a huge hug.
What a blessing angel flight is.
I agree. It's a great thing.
So you really are an angel.
Oh, well, thank you. I think you could call me an Angel Eagle because I'm a retired colonel. So how about Angel Eagle?
So, yep, you've had your wings a long time.
I've had my wings a long time. I sure have.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
We've all heard that phrase, there ain't nothing like the real thing. But when the real thing just isn't practical, then we have to simulate reality. And when it comes to pretending, you could say commercial airline pilots do things on a jumbo scale. We're here at the United Airlines Flight Training Center in Denver, Colorado, where my pilot instructor, Aaron Evangelisti, is going to show us what training is like inside a simulator. Ever since the Wright brothers first took flight, we've needed to develop ways to train new pilots. The earliest trainers, developed around 1910, consisted of a barrel split in half in which the pilot attempted to maintain proper roll, pitch, and yaw. Early on, one of the more successful simulators was the Blue Box, also known as the Link Trainer. In 1929, Edwin Link developed his trainer at his family's Nickelodeon and pipe organ business. And as you can imagine, technological developments over the last century have taken us a long way from those humble beginnings. And today, I'm going to try my hand at flying, or at least simulate flying one of these behemoths. So,
Right.
first thing that we do is we have a checklist.
Yeah, so we have
Okay.
checklist. Yeah, so what we've done is we showed up the airplane.
Simulators are the most efficient and affordable way to train and transition pilots from one type of aircraft to another. They're also great at maintaining proficiency in emergency procedures and flying in bad weather.
Flight checks up front, so we're turning all the navigational systems on. We're aligning the global positioning system that's going to help steer the aircraft and get us our position. We align all the systems, and that's what has gotten us to this point, is ready for takeoff.
This is the world's coolest video game ever.
So what I've used, put your right hands on the throttles there. We're going to go ahead and bump those up about 2 to 3 inches. And we're just going to make sure that the engines are stabilized. And then you're going to call auto throttles.
All throttles.
We'll put those on. And now you're steering the aircraft down the runway. So now I'm just checking all the aircraft systems as the aircraft begins to accelerate. We're going to, between now and a certain speed, if something went wrong, we'd be able to reject the takeoff and stop. So now here's where we're going to go V1, which is our decision speed, and rotate. So now just gently bring the yoke back, and the aircraft gently lifts off. And then we say positive rate, gear up.
Positive rate, gear up.
And I'm going to hit heading select to start heading westbound.
So Aaron, when did you know you first wanted to be a pilot?
You know, I was 4 years old. I went for my first flight with my my uncle, who at the time was a test pilot with one of the large aircraft manufacturers, and he took me for a ride on a beach bonanza. We flew from Scottsdale, Arizona, up to my grandparents' place in Delta, Colorado, and at that point, I knew I wanted to be a pilot. So now, as we move back towards the runway, you can pick up the 2 white markings about 1,000 feet down on the runway, and just keep those in the center of the windscreen. And now here's where we're all outside. So you can see the runway. I just took the auto throttles off. So now I'm doing the power. Now as you get down towards the runway, you gotta keep bringing her down, bringing it down. So now we're gonna gently come back. Now look at the end of the runway. And now you just let the airplane touch down. And we're down. Now we're lowering the nose. Now go ahead and put your hand on your thrust reversers here. You're gonna pull those up real hard. Now wait for just a second. Now gently bring them backwards. So that's the reverse thrust, which is that loud noise. So we've taken sleeves on the engine to redirect the airflow forward to help slow the aircraft down. So now we'll go ahead and move those back forward again. On the tops of those rudder pedals, if you rest your feet on the rudders, down there, and the tops are actually your brakes as you press forward, and that will slow the aircraft down. Brings it to a stop. And we're home.
We did it. It's been a privilege to catch a glimpse into how commercial airline pilots train.
So on behalf of United Airlines, I'd like to give you your wings and make you an honorary first officer. So welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Joseph Sabish, and I am 13 years old. I am a youth member and a glider trainee here at High Flight Soaring Club. I currently have 3 hours logged in a Schweitzer 233, this aircraft right here, and I'm working on more. I hope to solo at 14 and get my private pilot certificate later at my 16th birthday. So
That'll be a good 16th birthday.
that'd be great, yes. The best part about flying is you're up in the air all by yourself, and you get to fly with all the rest of the eagles, and it's just a great time up there. There's nothing better than flying. There is a lot of responsibility to take into accountability when you're flying a glider or an airplane. You have to make sure that every single thing is working on a glider before you go. So that's why we have checklists and emergency procedures to go through. So gliding is fun, and it's a great time. It's active as opposed to just using your thumbs playing video games. You're using your full body and full control to fly a glider, which is, I think, the best part. Yes, I definitely recommend it. Most teenagers should be doing something like this, and it's definitely a lot of fun. I'm hoping to be a military airman, hopefully Coast Guard as of now. It's definitely better than hanging out at the mall. Yeah, way better.
16-year-old Ian Wayman first started flying gliders when he was just 13. Since then, he's logged 21 hours in a glider, and he soloed when he was just 14. Wow, talk about pressure.
I was nervous. Yes, definitely nervous, but I had a great time, and as soon as I got up there, I just felt with the airplane. So, well, the best thing about flying is just the freedom and flying an airplane up there. It's very enjoyable, and doing the best you can at it and getting better at it and learning as much as you can about it and improving yourself in it, and just flying the airplane is so much fun.
What advice would you give to other kids about flying? Why should kids get interested?
Well, it's a great thing to do, and there's going to be shorter pilotages soon. That's what's predicted, so it'll be a good career hopefully. And it's just a lot of fun. People love doing it, and there's great people involved in it. It's mostly a small world.
Seems like a big responsibility for a teenager.
Well, it is a big responsibility flying, but you just got to stay on your A game and do the best you can, and think about everything you're doing. You know, think before you do it, and be smart about it, and usually it'll keep you out of trouble. Both my grandpas are aviators, and my dad's an aviator, and 3 of my uncles are aviators.
So you're following in that tradition?
Yes, yep, it definitely runs in the blood. Enjoy it a lot. I definitely want to be a pilot and do some kind of flying job. I just love flying.
You feel like a hawk when you're out there?
I sure do, yeah. I feel like a bird just hanging out up there.
Was I nervous with my son up there? Yes, always. It's like if you let your kids go drive four-wheelers or dirt bikes, you're going to be nervous. It's the same thing with this. He's had a lot of flight training over since he was a little kid with me, and also with certified flight instructors here at the glider port. So I have a lot of faith in him. He does a great job.
Hi, my name is Mark Dickerson. I've been with the Soaring Club since the mid-90s, and I am currently one of the tow pilots and one of the flight instructors. I got my private license in 1971. What's that put it, 42, 43 years, something like that?
Wow.
Yeah.
So, gliders are missing one of the key components that most airplanes have, an engine. That makes taking off a little problematic.
Okay, so you also talk with one of our tow pilots. They will put us on the end of a rope, and he's got an engine, and he can take us up to whatever altitude that we would like, at which point we would release. So that's how we get up there, and then once we're up there, the airplane, just like if you had a paper airplane that you threw, it will fly for a while without an engine.
Yikes, I'm going to be flying in something that doesn't have an engine. I had to ask, how are we going to get back?
We get back by not getting too far away in the first place, and just basically glide it on down. So we will head back toward the airport when it's time to, and enter the traffic pattern and land.
Thanks for flying with us on this edition of Hitting the Road. From the women who flew the planes in World War II to the young people of today, it's clear you've got to trust your instruments and keep your eyes on the horizon. We'll see you next time on Hitting the Road. Woo! That was the most excitement I have ever had in my life.
Donna, you were great. You were a super pilot. I enjoyed flying with you. You've got to come back and do it again sometime.
Yes.
I'm hitting the road again. Got adventure crawling under my skin. Going places that I've never been. I'm hitting the road. I'm hitting the road again. Gonna take along all of my friends. Living life like it's just no end. I'm hitting the road. Feeling better since I don't know